Well, greetings, Darlene here from Darlene's Garden in beautiful Athena, Oregon. Markwood Meadows, which is my pet name for my yard. Today I'm doing several things. For one thing, I don't know if you can see it on the camera. I was going to set the camera where you could see what it's doing. I am working on making coleslaw. So let me try to position the camera so you can watch. I started out using this to shred the mandolin, to shred the cabbage. It was just taking forever. So I switched over to cutting it by hand, which is working a lot better.
Light on again.
So I'm just taking my knife, and by the way, I'm not paid to say this or anything, but I love these knives. They're made by Cutco. So Cutco knives are a bit expensive, but they're worth every penny. Anyway, I'm just cutting it into very small shreds. And then I'm putting it into a container. That's my first step. When I was growing up, my daddy always made sauerkraut every year. We had a real large, I forget what it's called, to put it in. I mean, it would hold a whole bunch of heads of cabbage, and we would sit in the kitchen floor and shred the cabbage and add salt periodically and tamp it down with the potato masher. And I'm just doing one head of cabbage, because what that will do is about 1 quart of sauerkraut, which I would do more, except for I only have one head of cabbage, so we'll just work with what we've got. I saved back some of the outer leaves. If I need to, I can put over the top after I get everything in the quart jar, so that everything remains underneath the brine. Now, with sauerkraut, you don't have to make a salt brine. The sauerkraut, the cabbage makes, once you add the salt and do a bit of squishing, it makes its own brine, and makes enough to cover the sauerkraut so that it can naturally ferment. And if you've never tasted home fermented sauerkraut, you're missing out, because if you like sauerkraut, it's way better than what you get in the store. What you get in the store, you kind of have to, I would feel compelled to cook it, and it just isn't the same. This, when you eat it, doesn't need cooked at all. In fact, if you cook it, you lose some of the probiotics of it. You just need to eat it fermented. And some people add other things. I never have. But you could. I watched a video the other day where someone added caraway seeds, and that sounds like it would taste really good. But I don't have any caraway seeds. So just the cabbage and the salt. And for 1 head of salt in a 1 quart jar, 1 tablespoon of salt is sufficient. I believe the ratio is like 1 head of salt for every I don't know if it's 1 pound or 2 or whatever. Anyway, the 1 tablespoon works good for. One time I made it with trying to just put in salt until I got the amount of brine I wanted, and I ended up with, it was still good, but it was a little saltier than I like. So go careful on the salt. You just need enough to make the brine. And then once you get the cabbage all in the jar and it's all covered up with its own natural brine, you just have to check it every day or so to make sure that it stays, that the cabbage stays down under the brine. My daddy always used a plate on top of his. Every time I go to say the name of the container, it goes away out of my head. Crock, that's what I'm after. Okay, it was a big crock like this, and it stood about maybe 2 feet tall. I'm kind of guessing, but it was very large. So it made a lot of sauerkraut. And that sauerkraut would last us all winter. He usually made it in the fall or whenever the cabbage got ripe. This cabbage I bought from the store because I raised cabbage the year before last. Last year didn't really get any good cabbages. I don't have real good luck so far with raising cabbage. I know I've tried to start cabbage starts, and they say make sure it gets enough light, etc., etc. I put them real up close to my grow lights so they wouldn't get leggy. They get leggy anyway, and then they damp off, and so it's just, I have better luck at buying the cabbage I need. Although I keep trying to grow it. I think I have some planted out this year. We'll see what happens. When I get this all in the container, it's going to look like I have a lot, but trust me, it goes down once you get the brine going. It squishes down real well and ends up being a whole lot less than it looks in there, because that looks like it's more than a quart, but trust me, it isn't. Okay, so what else have I fermented? I suppose I should stop and show you. I'll go to the refrigerator and get I fermented these some time back. These are onions. They're fermented onions. And I've got grape leaves at the top of these to keep them under the brine. Now this brine I had to make, just it's a salt mixture. Put back in put in the fridge. And I also have, I won't show it to you, but I also have a pint of garlic. And that garlic I grew myself. And it was keeping fairly well, but it was starting to not do so well, so I just skinned all of it and put it in brine, and that way when you use it, it works out just the same as if you had fresh garlic. cabbage smells so good. I love the smell of cabbage. I know some people don't like it. I like cabbage cooked. I like cabbage raw. I like to use cabbage leaves to make a wrap around, like sausage and rice. And after I get this all in the quart jar and tamp down and it's made its brine, then I've got some of these, whoa, when I opened the drawer, I moved the camera. Sorry about that. Took you for a ride. I've got some of these fermenting lids that I can put on top of my jar after I put the cabbage in the jar and it's all ready to ferment. And how long will it take? Depends on how strong you like it. I would say I would let it sit out on counter for at least a couple of weeks, maybe longer. I'll taste it after, a week or two and see if it's beginning to taste the way I like it best. And if it is, then once it gets to the taste that I like, then I just switch out a regular canning lid and put it on top with the ring. Make sure you don't put it too tight. Still, put it in the fridge, and it still needs to be able to, some of the gases escape a little bit, because it won't completely stop fermenting, but it will mostly stop fermenting. And it will last in there however long it takes for you to eat it all up. Like, indefinitely. It's one of those things that, as long as you keep it, the cabbage under the brine and safe from exposure to dirt and air and all that kind of stuff, that will keep for years and years and years if need be. And no, you don't need to can it. Some people do, I guess. But fermented food does not need to be canned. It just needs to be eaten. Okay, that is all of my cabbage from that head. And it was a relatively small head. So, I'll get it all. I love this glass cutting board. It was my mom's. I have some regular wooden cutting boards, but I love this glass one. It cleans up so easy and it doesn't get crud down in it, and it does a good job. And it's on little leg things, so I do accumulate crud underneath it sometimes. If I baked some stuff yesterday, there's a bit of flour there. Okay, the scraps go in. Any of the scraps I have here in this bag, and this goes in the refrigerator. I have some green peppers that they started getting slimy, so that all goes to my worms. Okay, so I'm ready for let me go get my measuring spoon. Whatever kind of salt you want. I suggest you don't use table salt because it has iodine. Most of it has iodine. You don't want iodine in it. But kosher salt or sea salt, canning salt, pickling salt, whatever this is, pink Himalayan salt. Nice tablespoonful there. it out here and taste it up. Okay, so I'm gonna move that so that I don't move you around again. I need to open the straw and get the potato masher out. Where did I put it in the... You know, I think I put the potato masher in my other... I have 2 drawers where I have utensils. So it's always a guessing game as to which one I need to go to. Well, I was looking for the other. Oh, this is my old-fashioned one. It'll work. Actually, I'm gonna get a big spoon here. Getting some of the salt on my hands. So I'm gonna mash this a little bit with a potato masher, and then I'm gonna let it sit for a little bit, and then I'm gonna mash it more, and then I'll let it sit for a little bit, and I'll mash it more, and then pretty soon it'll be ready to go into the jar. And so that's all I'm going to show you about that today. I'll probably show you the jar once I get it all done, but we'll see in a few minutes. Okay, well, I started, back, there we go. Okay, I started out using this potato masher, and that worked pretty good until I just felt like I wasn't getting enough. I switched over to this one, which is a little more, and then when I felt like I could get it all in the jar, put it in the jar. You can see the brine at the top. In order to get it all in the jar, I used this gadget. It just goes in here and you just keep tamping it down until it all fits in. So it's all in the jar, and I'm going to lay some lettuce on the top there, and then use this is for the, not the wide mouth, this is the narrow mouth one. And then sauerkraut's ready to ferment. And there we go. Oh, yesterday I made some sugar-free cinnamon rolls. I made with Splenda, and I used Amish friendship bread starter along with flour. I'm in the process of making a new batch of kombucha, and over here I have my old batch that was done. I put them in these jars for, usually I can only leave them in here like a day. Last time, the last batch I made, when I opened it up, it all over everything. I keep them in these jars so if they spew, they don't spew that much, but I had left that one out here a little longer than I needed to, apparently. Anyway, once it gets fizzy, I put them in the refrigerator, and then they're fine in there. Okay, I'm a little bit worried this morning. You saw in yesterday's video, I got a couple of 3 plants, and I planted them out. I followed the instructions. It said right here, plant outside immediately. Even if you have or expect to have cold temperatures or even snow. Well, I did that. We were projected to be down to like about 35, 36 last night. It actually got down to 23. I went out this morning and the leaves on the fig are just, poor things. They, worse for wear. So I don't know. I should have followed my instincts instead of following. I tend to be a rule follower. If it says I can do it, I do it. If it tells me to do it, I do it. And I should have not done it. I should have just put them in a pot and left them in the house. And then they would have been for sure okay. But the stem and the branches, they look perfectly fine. It's just the leaves that are all soft and green and a little bit on the mushy side. So we'll see what happens. I hope I haven't killed the plant by following the instructions. Time will tell. Time will tell. I think my clue here should have been that it says they are shipped in a dormant condition. Well, they weren't that dormant when I got them. I don't know if that's, might look backwards there, because the fig already had leaves on it. So we'll see. It's supposed to do okay in this zone. We'll see. I know I tried last year too, and immediately killed the fig that I planted out because it got really rainy and windy, and the fig didn't make it. So hopefully it does. If not, I've still got the two that are in my grow room. I've got them outside sitting in the sun right now. Set them outside for a week or two, and then by then our weather should be better. I'm in zone 6B, and we get down in the 20s sometimes during the, well, not so much during the winter. It was mostly in the spring this year that we've got our cold temperatures. We've gotten snow, but not a lot this year. We had a relatively mild winter. It's gotten colder here in the spring. So the thing is, we have a fairly short growing season because it will be warm enough to put out my tomatoes and peppers in probably a couple of weeks, the first part of May. But then what happens is it jumps right from 30s at night and 50s and 60s in the day to 50s at night and 80s and 90s in the day. I mean, it's just, the last few years it's just gone from spring to summer like, boom. So we'll see what happens this year. And I'm growing as much as I can, just because the more of our own stuff we have, the less we have to rely on trying to find things at the grocery store. And I've done that anyway in the past few years, and even further back than that. My daddy always had a great big, huge garden. One of my favorite memories is sitting down on the back lawn with a salt shaker and a pile of cucumbers that he just picked from the garden, and we sat there eating cucumbers together, just right straight out of the garden. Yummy. That's the best way to eat a cucumber. So I am hoping that my garden does well. You've seen the pictures of if you've been watching my videos, you've seen how my cool weather things are coming up nicely. And hopefully they keep growing, and just to say a little prayer for my little garden. I went out this morning to check on my poor fig that I was telling you about. I petted it and I talked to it. I don't know. That probably does no good whatsoever. But just in case it does, you know, I know plants don't have ears. But they are a living thing. They're a living creature. And I know any living thing does better if it knows it's loved. So I don't know if that applies to plants. Hard to tell. But just in case it does, I let my plants know that I love them. Isn't that silly? It's probably way silly. But isn't it okay to be silly sometimes? I'd rather be silly than not. Anyway, that is my video for today. Making sauerkraut and making my kombucha. I should make a batch of ginger ale. Homemade ginger ale, I really like it. I make it, I don't know if I've given you the recipe for it in the past or not. That's for a future video, so I'm not going to make any today. But I really like it. So that's all for today, folks. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, make sure you hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. And the best way to make this channel grow is if you share my video with others. So until next time I see you, which will be on my next video, may the good Lord richly bless you. I'll be sure and watch your videos too. Until then, bye.